Good morning, I'm Kathryn. Welcome to my making adventure. This is the beginning of the end of my 12 cast ons. So Ange from Yarn and Yarns has been hosting a 12 cast ons make along where between about Christmas time and the end of January, you cast on up to 12 projects, kind of to just like inspire knitting for the remainder of the year. I am on Cast on 12. It is Thursday, January 29th in the morning, and I'm going to be swatching for the Storm sweater by Petite Knit. This is one that like ever since I like really first started knitting, I wanted to make it. I actually wanted to make the Ingrid sweater, and somebody was like, oh no, that's not beginner friendly. Try the Storm sweater. And so I've kind of had it on my queue since then. And last year, I don't know. My library had a sweater sale where there were sweaters that were like 100% Irish wool, non-superwash, for sale for like, there were different prices depending on when you went and got them, but as low as $10 a sweater. The sweaters, however, were not my size. But I bought some for the yarn and I frogged them and I have yarn. So I actually bought two that were a similar color, and the sweaters were double knit. So when I frogged them, let's see if I can get one of these bags open. I just left them that way. So there's two strands together here. And the same here. These are slightly different colors of pink. So what I plan to do is hold one strand of this with one strand of this. However, it's not ready for that yet. It's also all very noodly, but I do not plan to wash this before knitting with it. I should have measured this. I did swatch at one point with it, but nowhere did I write what needle size this was. Smart me. So I am gonna re-swatch in pattern for the Storm sweater. And I am going to have to like re-ball or cake all this yarn up. Well, not all of it, but at least one ball of each color needs to be taken apart and rewound so that I can use it. I'll probably do like a giant ball of each for today. This swatch I would rip out if I needed to, but I knit this from noodle yarn and then blocked it, and it looks gorgeous. I will knit my swatch from, these are like scraps. So the sweater was seamed, like the sleeves were seamed, and the back piece was like, initially must have been a rectangle, and so it was cut to do the shaping of the sleeves, for the sleeves. And so there's a lot of like noodle yarn where like at that back of the yoke, the string would go maybe down and back and then break. And so I have lots of like scrappy pieces of yarn that I saved just for like swatching, or I don't know, my kids could do weaving with it or something. I don't know. It felt like a lot to get rid of two. I have two of these. The other one's smaller because I squished it more. Or maybe I threw out more of the smaller pieces. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe it's just because there's two of them. Two smaller ones. And so it felt like a lot of yarn to just throw out. I could use it for stuffing those cats that I'm making. But I'm making those in cotton, so I don't think I want to stuff them with wool and give them away to public school kids who have no idea that there's wool inside. But maybe they could be used for felting. I don't really know much about felting, but there's somebody in a nearby community who does a lot of felting, so I could maybe ask her about it. But I saved like all the buttons and all the tags for the sweaters in with those scraps so that if there's any information I need later, I can go back and get it. The tricky part is going to be making sure to keep the yarns separate. But I think, I mean, like right now I can tell the difference between the two sweaters. So hopefully I'll continue to be able to tell without having to exert a lot of effort. But first up, I need to swatch and block it. And that's my goal for today. And maybe do some rearranging of the yarn. We shall see. Good afternoon. It is still Thursday. And I have a few things to show you. First of all, it's gonna look funny, but I have a swatch. Now I need to block it. I should measure it first though. I'm really bad at that. To see how much it changes. It has a million ends because I used all those little pieces. And I just tied them off. So, ta-da! And it's like not knitting up perfectly. But it's also really not that bad. What's on your head? Hat? Yeah, pretty hat. Especially for like how noodly the yarn looks. I think it's knitting up just fine. And I will see, you know, for sure once it's blocked how it looks. However, the other project of taking the big ball of yarn and making it into two smaller balls of yarn is much more difficult than I thought it would be. And I have I have a lot of these to do. I need to do at least 2 big balls in different colors before I can actually cast on. So, doing the hard work to get ready for this cast on rather than procrastinating it. Doing the hard stuff so that I can cast it on. This will get blocked tonight and it will dry because it is dry winter here. And then I will be able to cast on tomorrow morning as long as I spend the rest of my evening separating yarn. So the swatch was fun. The pattern is fun to knit. I'm looking forward to doing it on my actual sweater. The problem is I'm very, very, very concerned that once I start this, I won't want to knit anything else. And I want to finish my brother's socks. I want to finish the kitty cat. I want to finish my DRK everyday cowl. I see those 3 projects hanging up over there. I'm like, I need to keep working on those. I can't let this take over my life. But it's so pretty. It is now Friday morning. We are a house of sick people, but we are making it. Hopefully that means more knitting time, but I'm not so sure it does. I have swatched. And I love it. And I blocked it. And it's dry. 1,042 ends. I just tied the ends. Since it was just a swatch. And I'm way over gauge. I think I'm like 3 or 4 stitches.
Okay, you'll carry it up for me?
Fewer per 4 inches. I didn't get a perfect measurement because, like I said, we're a sick house, and that means that my kids need me every 2 seconds. But here's my plan. The pattern calls for quite a bit of positive ease. I'm going to knit the size that calls for only 3 inches of positive ease instead of like 6 to 10. It's like 3 or 4 for me. And I'm going to knit 1 needle size down from this. So this is knit on a US 6. I'm going to use a US 5. There's not a huge difference between those. It's not going to make up the gauge difference. But I also don't want to knit this yarn that much tighter, like on 4s, which is a 3.5 millimeter. A 4 I think would hurt my hands. I think a 5 won't. That's a 3.75. And this is a little bit loose for stitches. Like when it was soaking, it was see-through. So I don't think a 5 is a bad change, but I don't want to go down to a 4. And I love it. So I also stayed up late last night separating out 1 of each. So I have one of each of the 2 different shades of pink so that I can hold this together to start my sweater. So I'm like ready to cast on. I don't think I've put my 5s on the cord yet. That's probably what needs to happen, is I need to put my right needles on the cord. I also, according to my 2026 goals, I wanted to pay attention to how much yarn I was starting with. So for shade 1, sweater 1, I have 430 grams of this. For the second one, there was more because it was like a sweater tank top combination that I frogged. This one, I have 658 grams. So holding double in this combination, I have 860 grams of DK yarn. I have no idea what the yardage would be there. It might be closer to worsted since I'm getting that like 16 stitch per 4 inches.
Probably bigger than
so held together, I might be getting more of a worsted gauge. So the yardage might be smaller than like a typical 860 grams of DK. But I think that that's still enough. If it's not, I will hold the extra of the second color double for my cuffs and my hem, all the ribbing. So the collar, the cuffs, and the bottom. I don't think it will be very different compared to held together, but it won't matter to me if my ribbing is a little different. So I probably won't do any of the ribbing until I have a better idea on that. So I think that's the update.
Yeah.
Hopefully I will get to cast on this afternoon or soon. It's almost lunchtime. Like, it's morning, but we had things this morning. We have a lady who comes and does activities with our kids, but since we're sick, she obviously couldn't come to our house, but she offered to do it virtually. So she dropped off stuff at our house and then FaceTimed us. And so we still had our little visit. We did our school for the day. I had to run some errands because we're low on toilet paper. And I'm the healthy one.
Yeah.
And we needed a new library book because we just finished the Boxcar Children book we had been reading.
We picked Little House.
We picked to read Little House on the Prairie again. This is book 5. So we've read the first 4. We're on book 5. And I have been reading The Storm Sister by Lucinda Riley, which is book 2 of the Seven Sisters series. And I've been reading it on my phone, but I only get it for 2 weeks on my phone. And I'm like 25%. So I checked it out from the library because they had it available. And they have all those books available, so I don't know, might be going back to reading more real books because my library lets me check them out for 4 weeks rather than 2 weeks on my phone. And I'm trying to be off my phone more. So there's an update. I'll show you the beginning before I wrap up this vlog. This is the 30th of January, so I have to finish. I have to get it cast on. I have to finish my cast on. So, yeah. All right. Quick update. I am working short rows, and I'm through like the first texture pattern of the back. And I'm gonna do, I think it's a broken rib next. It's really nice because of, I don't think like the pattern is clear. It's fine. There's nothing wrong. But what's really nice is that the stitches like tell you if you're on track or not. It's like knit this far and then do this. And like it should line up, right? So yeah, I am hoping I've got like this many stitches left to work short rows across. I would really like to get the short rows done tonight. I hate having my needles like not at a good stopping place. Also, something interesting that I've like literally never had a pattern do before is you like cast on all the stitches and then you break the yarn. So that was interesting. I guess there is one pattern of Hanagrams where you're doing like the mic, it's on the mica satchel, I think is what it's called, where you like pick up all the stitches and then you break the yarn and then you do an I-cord. But I thought that was interesting for a pattern like of this scale. So I tried to use one of my longest scraps to cast on all the stitches, and it was only enough for like half. So I was like, man, I'll just break the yarn. So I ended up casting on like 1.5 times, but here's my update. And I think it's looking good. I did like actually count my gauge on my swatch was 17 stitches per 4 inches instead of 20. So I'm comfortable using the 3.75 millimeter needles, and I'm knitting one size down from what the pattern recommends I would knit for my size. So I think it's gonna come out good. I'm really excited. All right, one more update later tonight, I think. I just finished editing and posted my 11th cast on video, so go check that one out. Okay, it is late Friday night. It's like after 10, which is late. And I finished the short rows. Ta-da-da-da-da. There is more knitting on the back panel to do still. I think like almost 40 more rows, which now I'm wondering, I think it's gonna be even more almost than what I've done so far, or maybe close to. There's 2 more texture patterns, so since I've done 2 and there's gonna be 2 more, maybe it'll be close to the same amount of rows. But you know, all the rows are gonna be full length now, and there's increases once you get to the end for the armhole shaping. But I'm really pleased with this cast on effort for today. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't think it looks like it's gonna be too small, so that's also good, and it's not blocked. So oh, I love how it's looking. Now I have to put it away until I do some of the other things I need to do, like finish the cat. So, and I really want to finish my cowl because it's cold out. Yay! I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much for joining me for the 12 cast ons. It has been a blast. I never ever thought that I would have wanted to cast on 12 things. Thanks Kirsty for the nudge to do it anyway and space it out and not rush through it. I also just thought I'd let you know, I think I only purchased yarn for my husband's sweater that I cast on, the finest kind, but I was already planning on making him that. Like, that was the plan for the year. And I purchased 3 patterns during the make along, which 2 of them I was already planning on it, which was the finest kind and the storm sweater by Petite Knit. The DRK everyday cowl pattern I was not necessarily planning on purchasing for the make along, but that's one pattern, is like really all the investment that I made for joining along. So if it's something that you might be interested in doing in the future, don't feel like you have to get fancy yarn or buy a whole bunch of new patterns, or, you know, I like to use what I have and what I like and make it work with what I've got. So you can do that too. That's part of the fun for me, is like solving the puzzle of how can I use this yarn that I have and make something that I'll really like. I am very pleased. I feel like the color of this sweater is much more leaning towards the first sweater that I frogged than the second, and I liked the tone of that sweater better. Yeah, so this is a lot of fun. And I think I am only going to frog one of the 12 projects that I started. So at least at this time, that's all I have planned. I love all of the other ones. So yay. I will be updating on these projects in my regular monthly podcasts. And maybe as I bind them off. But if you want to see like mid-project updates, you're going to have to watch my monthly podcast. My January updates video has been posted, and I have some updates on, I think, 5 of my 12 Cast Ons projects in that video. So if you haven't already checked it out, go ahead, check it out, and I will catch up with you later. God bless. Bye.